I think I'm using a new streaming service. Hey everyone. We can see there's a few people already in the chat. So hey Lockie, um, Chris, your average fish keeper. See a few people here. Today I'm playing around with StreamYard. So here, wait. There we go. Um, can you guys hear me all right? I've got my microphone over here because it stuffs with the autofocus on my camera. So you can see here, if I do something like this, wait, it's probably not going to do it now. But if I put my microphone in front, the whole stream, it's just constantly trying to autofocus and it's really annoying. But can you guys hear me all right? Cool. All right. Well, yeah, today I haven't done one of these in a very, very long time. I don't know how long it's been. I just haven't really I don't know, streaming's I enjoy it a lot, but it's just not one of my main focuses on the channel. And I'd hope to do it more often, but the problem is I can't stick to a schedule. So it's just kind of whenever I feel like it and have a bit of extra time, I just jump on and have a chat to you guys. And yeah, we just talk about some fish. So yeah, feel free to ask any questions. I mean, I'll try and answer all of them. We'll just see where we end up talking. I think on this service as well, I'm probably going to upgrade to a paid version, so I don't have that logo in the corner, but I don't mind having that here today. But I think you can actually show different visuals on the screen. So I think that's pretty cool. And today when we're talking about stuff, I might be able to try and give you guys I don't know, we can look up stuff and things like that if we have to. But I think I'll try and steer away from questions like tank stocking and things like that, because you can just Google those questions normally. But I'll try and talk about things that I think are kind of interesting and things that I think we should discuss. And yeah, so yeah, ask away. I mean, there's already 62 people here, which is more than I've ever had, I think. Or maybe I've had a little bit more, but that's just crazy. I honestly, I don't know if you watched my video yesterday. I'm still a bit, I don't know, blown away by my situation, and all the support you guys have been giving me is just absolutely phenomenal. So I can't thank you guys enough. And yeah, I mean, it's just been so weird just thinking back to when I was 14, and I'm pretty much doing what I would have, I don't know, things that I never thought I would do. It's kind of weird. I'm not trying to boast or anything like that. Don't take it the wrong way. I'm just a little bit lost for words. So yeah, anyways, I'll start answering some questions and we'll get through some of these things. So I saw a decent one before. How many tanks are at your facility? So I think at the fish room, I've got 65 tanks. There's 18 on one side, and then there's 45. So maybe that's 63 then, isn't it? I don't know. Yeah. I think there's 65. I can't really remember. You kind of lose count after a certain amount, and you don't really pay attention to it. It's amazing. I thought that having 65 tanks, it is a lot of tanks. Don't get me wrong, and it is a lot of work. And if this wasn't my full-time gig, then it'd be a little bit harder to manage. But it's amazing. You can just fill those tanks up so quick. The second you have them, they're all filled, and you're always looking for tank space. I'm constantly shuffling things around and still looking for tank space. And at some point, I'm obviously going to upgrade to a different and bigger facility and do more projects and breed more fish. But it's just amazing that, yeah, you can fill it up so quick. So yeah, I think there's 65 tanks. That's just the number off the top of my head that I can remember. What do you keep in your display tanks? So I actually don't have any display tanks at the moment. Don't get me wrong. I enjoy display tanks, and I think they're absolutely beautiful. And that's basically what the hobby's about, is display tanks. And a lot of the fish I breed end up in display tanks. So they have a special place in my heart, but I actually don't have any at the moment. And that's just because I'm fully focusing on the breeding. Maybe at some point in the future, I will have display tanks. But for me, I feel like I'd be lying if I was just making display tanks, because it's not something that I actually enjoy doing. I'd way prefer using that tank for some kind of breeding, even if it was just adding shrimp in there and just leaving them, and that being the display and watching them breed and reproduce, or guppies or something like that. I find that cooler. Well, I'd find that more personally, I think that's a word. Like, I'd find that more enjoyable myself than setting up a tank to look at, if that makes sense. Man, so many people here. This is crazy. So, you almost have enough fish to become a wholesaler yourself. Almost. I'm still actually ages away from being able to fully supply any wholesalers with fish. Like, you don't have any idea how many fish wholesalers can actually buy. Yeah, so I'm still a ways away from that. But yeah. Yeah, we'll keep going through. Are you gonna shave your mustache? I think at some point, obviously, I'm gonna shave it. I don't know why I cut it out. I think I got a bit lazy and like, I'm not gonna act like I know. Like, I've got terrible facial hair. Like, my facial hair doesn't grow very, very thick, and I don't have any hair really on me at all. And I look a bit like a 12-year-old boy, even though I'm 20. But yeah, I mean, one day I just left it for a bit, and I had all this stubble, and I just cut it out. And I think it looks like, I don't know, I think it makes me look less like a 10-year-old, but it also does look seedy. And I don't know. I'm only going to keep it for a little bit, I'm pretty sure, and then I might cut it off. I've been getting tons of comments, and the comments don't bother me at all. I couldn't care less, but tons of comments telling me it looks like crap. And yeah, I don't know. I'll keep it for as long as I can, or until I feel like cutting it off, I guess. But yeah. Do you have an RO system, or are you using tap water? So I have a small RO system. It only can produce like 100 liters at a time. And what it is, I bought it off eBay for like $70. I think it's like a portable RO unit, and you just need the adapter, and you just plug it into a tap. And I just turn that on when I need RO water. And over a day, I think it takes like maybe 18 hours or something like that to fill up 100 liters. And I only need 100 liters because the only thing I use RO on nowadays is my discus. So I was actually using RO and stuff on rams and things like that. But I decided to stop doing that. And I don't think that it's actually necessary. I think the most important thing with the rams is the pH and things like that. But the discus, I can't tell you, that's super important. Like, I've had people tell me that they can do it on tap water and things like that. And I'm sure you can. I think that you'll just probably get less fry because you might get less hatching, or they might produce less eggs when they do breed. So yeah, I only use RO for discus breeding tanks. Once the fry come out, I'm planning, like I've done this before, I'm planning to then slowly introduce them onto tap water. Because that's what they're going to go to, like ideally at the fish shop and stuff like that. They're not going to get pristine RO water. The RO is only for the parents to form their slime coat and to lay a lot of eggs. So yeah. But I do have a small one. You don't need a lot of RO water. I think, like, for me, things that RO water have been good for are epistogrammas seem to like it quite a bit. And yeah, discus, and it did help to trigger some of the rams, but I find that just the fluctuations and things like that, it's just not really necessary. So if you're going to use RO water, you kind of want to you kind of want to just like always keep it really, really like soft water, or you're going to want to like once every couple of weeks, just drop it with one water change and then bring it back up slowly. You don't want to just constantly be spiking it up and down with the hardness in your aquarium. It'll just wig out your fish. So yeah. Is RO water similar to rainwater, or is there any plus to rainwater? My mate got a discus pair for $30. Wow, that's pretty cheap. Good on him. RO, yeah, so I've actually done a few tests. I'm not a scientist, so I can't tell you exactly what the differences are like scientifically, but I can tell you from my own interpretations what I've noticed. So when I was trying to breed my Equus, I actually sold them to someone who was watching my videos. But when I was trying to breed the Equus and things like that, I decided that I was going to try and trigger them with rainwater. And it's actually really, really useful, rainwater, for a lot of things. And, you know, I was trying to figure out the difference between rainwater and RO water. So I just did some simple tests. Now, they both have a very, very low mineral content. So like the TDS in both of them was almost zero. Rainwater had, I think, a little bit more. And maybe that's just from collecting when it like falls on the surface of something and it's collecting a bit of material as it comes through. But rainwater has a lower pH than RO water. So RO water is like a flat neutral pH. And I think what's neutral? 7.6. I should know these things. I haven't been to school for a bit, so I've started to forget these things, and I should educate myself. Someone will put it in the comments if I got it wrong, but I remember RO water, yeah, it was like neutral, and then rainwater had a pH of about like 6, or it could even get less than that. Now, I think the reason for that is from the pollution in the air, and as the rain's falling through the air, it's just collecting the pollution and making the water acidic. So every time I use rainwater, I still condition it just to make sure there's no heavy metals or things like that in it. But another thing with rainwater is it probably could collect like nitrates and ammonia and things like that from bird poo on roofs and things like that. So you want to like use rain. Like I prefer using rainwater actually for a lot of things. Like if I was using it to trigger things, but the only problem with it is it can collect like parasites and things like that depending on where you've collected it. So that's enough for the water chat. But that's what I've noticed. I mean, I'm probably not I don't know. I'm not a scientist. Any tips on breeding betters? So I've got a few tips. I'm also not an expert at breeding betters, and I've actually decided that I'm probably not going to breed betters for quite a long time. Betters were really fun to breed, and I've talked about the whole project in a previous video. So like I think it was like $3,000 or something like that. And that was over a long period of time. Like, I mean, there's probably other projects I could have done that would have made more money, but for the amount of fun I had, it was really fun. And I'm probably not going to be breeding betters anymore. I might just do 1 or 2 batches every, like twice a year, or once a year, you know what I mean? So that I just have one batch and I can just sell that slowly. Here we go. The camera's finally doing its autofocus. So I can sell like that batch slowly. And I think it's just more of a passion thing. Like there's people who are experts overseas that can do a much better job than me at breeding them. But tips for breeding them. The first thing is don't overthink it. They're not actually that hard to breed at all. Just follow the video that I posted. And the other thing too is like persisting with it. So they might not spawn the first time. Don't be afraid to leave the male and the female together for too long. That was one of the things I did at the start. I'd take them out if I didn't see breeding like within an hour. You can leave them in there for like, 8 hours. They're not going to kill each other. It's very unlikely they'll kill each other as long as the female has somewhere to go and retreat and hide. I mean, when you're breeding betters, don't breed betters that you want to keep as show betters because they're just going to nip at each other's fins and they're going to get really rowdy and they're going to damage each other. So your fish isn't going to look the same after you breed it. So I guess that's my advice. I think the main thing is persistence. Like every time I'd introduce my betters, I'd introduce them in the morning. And then what I would do is when I introduce them, leave them in there until the afternoon. And if there was no breeding, I'd take them out and do the same thing the next morning. So I'd separate them for the night and then reintroduce them the next morning. And I'd basically do it until they bred. And the last thing that I can think of is you got to make sure your female's ready. The best way to do that is you got to be a little bit careful because you don't want to bloat them, but just feed bloodworms once a day and, just show her the male for like an hour each day before you're trying to breed them up so that they get really excited and they fill up with eggs. And then you'll see her little ovipositor will come out. And when you see that little white spot, which is really, really plump, that's when they're ready to go. So that's my advice. How many of the angel fries survive in percent from a single spawn when you raise them in a tray? I'd say, honestly, now, probably like 98%, 99%. I've gotten really efficient with it. The only way that you normally kill angelfish is genetic deformities, or if your tray goes out and the ammonia spikes and you lose a few that way. So that's really easy to prevent. Angelfish are one of the easiest fish to breed, in my opinion. And I think it all just comes down to setup with those guys. Like they're not hard to breed at all. just because the fry are pretty big when they're born, and they also hunt down food. So if you can feed something like baby brine shrimp straight away, then it's really easy to raise up normally. The different There we go. Excuse me. I just had lunch before. The difference between like fish that are hard to breed and easy to breed normally comes down to the raising of the fry. A lot of fish just spawn, and a lot of people can't raise them up. But yeah, angelfish, I've gotten probably like, I'm not trying to be arrogant, but I've probably just gotten a little bit too good at it, and I've made way too many of them, and I can't sell them. So that's why I'm slowly stopping breeding them. I had like 10 pairs, and now I've dialed it back down to 2 pairs, and yeah, they're just not really viable for my fish room. If I had mountains of grow out space and I could put them in big outdoor ponds and grow them all up to adults and, you know, do stuff like that, then it would be totally viable and I make a lot of money, but I can't do that because I've got 16 meters squared. So yeah, a little bit annoying. But when is the Infusoria video coming? I've tried 7 times now. So this is something that I really want to talk about, because I know that making a video and it's going to be a little bit petty. So I'm going to try and make it like as good as possible. But for all the people who can't wait for the video, it's pretty easy to actually make Infusoria, and I struggled for quite a long time to make it. And I remember watching a video, I think it was from a bloke called the Urban Fish Keeper. I love his videos. They're so pure. They're not like super edited like mine, and they're pretty relaxing to watch. But he talked about it being like his Achilles of fish breeding. It's the most annoying thing is it's actually harder to culture the Infusoria sometimes than it is to breed the actual fish. So the first thing is you want to set up your Infusoria culture and give yourself like a week before you need it. Now, the way to do it is you need to have like a way of getting like a starter culture. So you need like a mature aquarium. Now, Infusoria is pretty much in every single aquarium. So if it's not an aquarium from like, if it's not like a 2-week-old aquarium and it's a little bit established, it'll have tons of Infusoria in it. What you have to do is get yourself a jar and use tank water. Now, when you use tank water, don't use tank water from like the bottom of the tank or anything like that. You want to just use like the tank, just aged water. And then what you want to do is go to your sponge filter or like a piece of mat and squeeze in just the brown juice. You don't need much of it, just a little bit. And that's going to have all those little tiny Infusorias in it. Now, here's where the most important things are, in my opinion. So I keep all my Infusoria for it to culture really quick in about 27, 28 degrees. So you can actually just float it like in a warm aquarium, or you can just keep it in a warm room like my fish room. And what I use to culture it is just a little bit of yeast, because the yeast creates bacteria and they can eat the bacteria. And that's how they really quickly proliferate. So it can take like 2 or 3 days to get a really booming Infusoria kit from that. So add yeast. Once it clears up, you'll notice that there's a ton of Infusoria. And normally if you're not breeding a ton of things, that'll be enough to get your fry through that first stage. The other thing I like to do is set up like 3 or 4 of them, because sometimes what can happen is you can get predators actually in the Infusoria kit. So things like Cyclops and little like critters actually will eat the Infusoria at the start, and then they won't ever like produce a ton of them. So you want to just make sure that it's just Infusoria in that water. So set up like a few of them. And my final piece of advice would be to add, I think this is from a guy called Dave Ramsey. He's got some fantastic live food videos. Dry out some pieces of turnip. For some reason, turnip's like the one that I've noticed that works the best. Use a little bit of dried turnip and then put that in there, and that can just feed it for quite a long time and make it a really sustainable culture. So just constantly having tons of them around. Another thing you can do is make really big Infusoria kits. So like if you use one of those 4-liter Kmart tubs and make one in there, or like a bucket, then it works really well. Now, I've just got a question that's really good. How much yeast do I use? So I literally use like, if you take like the start of a teaspoon, like you don't need much at all. You don't want to use like a whole teaspoon, like maybe like 1/8 of a teaspoon, put it in there, mix it up in some water and activate it, and then just pour it into like a decently sized mason jar. And that seems to work really well. Like it doesn't matter how much you use. Don't overfeed it, underfeed it if you can. And that's my advice for that. I saw a good one before. There was a question about raising Corydoras fry. So I have so many Corydoras fry for the first time, how to raise them quickly. So I've actually been hitting another little road bump in my Cory production. So I've been making a mountain of them. In my last update video, you guys would have seen I had a ton of Hydra in the aquariums. Now, the Hydra is not eating the Corys. It's actually out competing the Corys for the food. And that way the Corys don't eat anything, and that's how they're dying. So it's not affecting them too much. I've added some Nopalinaria to those aquariums. I'm going to see if that kills the Hydra, because that'd be a perfect fix. But I struggled for a long time on Corys. You'd kind of need to, like with the Corys, sorry, I just lost my train of thought. With the Corys, you need to develop your own workflows for how to breed those. So like there's certain things that, like each Cory, right, even though they lay the same size like eggs normally and they all eat the same food at the start, you need to find different ways to raise all those different Corys, because they all need different environments and things like that. The best way to do it is you want to add them to a like 80-liter tank, and then I don't know how to describe this. You want to have like a net suspended on that tank with flow going into it. So just like one of those like baskets for, I think you use them to cover up food. They work really well. Put your eggs in there and then they'll hatch, and you can also feed some baby brine shrimp in there. And then once you move them to like a new grow out tank, once they've hatched, you don't want to leave them in that net for too long, because otherwise they'll overcook and they'll start to die because they can't eat it. What you want to do is take them out and then put them into big tank space. Like the bigger the tank space, the better. So my tank of choice is two feet tanks, and you just want to have a bit of cover because they're going to go hard underneath the cover. So maybe add some leaves or something like that. And basically add them in there, feed them baby brine shrimp each day. The baby brine shrimp will either go to the bottom and they'll eat it off the floor, or it'll actually die and they'll eat it off there. But the amount of baby brine shrimp is not going to stuff up the water because the volume of water is so big. And they'll eat on that until they grow up. And then the next stage is, a lot of people can do that, but then they start to die at that stage where they are a little bit too big to eat baby brine shrimp. And this is one of the things I've noticed, that this is where the Hydra can become a problem, because any of the food that they were like eating then is all gone because there's so many Hydra in the tank. So I've got to get rid of the Hydra. And you need to transition them onto a new food. So what I like to transition them onto is that beef heart mix. So I've made a few videos on it. That beef heart mix works really well for these guys. And as long as you add some garlic, it really works well. Is the Corydoras toxin true? I think it is. I've noticed that before I ship any of my Corys are kind of annoying to ship. I don't like shipping them because of that toxin. I mean, I think it's mostly debunked as a myth, but I think it's actually like true. But what I do before I ship them is I put them in a container and I like slap the container and it scares them all. And hopefully that releases the toxin. And then I drain that water and put fresh water in, and hopefully they're good to go. But I've noticed that sometimes if I don't do that, I've only had this happen once, but they've just rocked up dead. And I'm pretty sure it's because of that toxin. So I'm just getting notifications everywhere. Remind me that afternoon. So yeah, Corys are a really fun one to do, though. I really like doing them. Just wondering, when you say fish breeding is profitable, 99% of all YouTube videos that I watched and people I talk to say there is not much money in breeding fish. Interesting. Yeah, so I think that comes down to a few things. I mean, it depends on what you're breeding. If you're breeding guppies and things like that, it's probably not profitable. And that's just because, like look, you have to think about it. I'm trying to come up with a good analogy. I'm not the best at analogies. I watched Corey from Aquarium Cult. I watch all of his live streams, and man, he comes up with some good analogies. But I'd say it's like, it'd be like saying breeding chickens isn't profitable when you're competing against farms that breed millions of chickens a year and you've only got a backyard to breed them. Now, of course, you're probably going to breed at the same rate or like slightly less maybe. And that's probably what's going to be your Achilles heel there, and you're not going to be able to breed a lot of them. It all comes down to like your setup and the viability of those fish. So I don't know. I think I probably said it before in the past too, that breeding fish isn't profitable. And I definitely don't agree with that anymore. And I think it all just comes down to the viability of the fish, how many of them you can produce, if you have the space to produce them, and if you have somewhere to sell them, that's when it kind of becomes a bit more profitable. And yeah, I think that largely the people who say that, I'm not saying that they're wrong, because every economy is different. And some places, like if you live in the middle of nowhere, it's going to be very hard to start a fish business because you don't have anyone to sell them to, and you have to ship them and things like that, and you have to make all your connections. And it's a little bit it's a little bit annoying. But I think that most of those people haven't bred fish before, or they've bred fish and they've had like one batch of Crebensis, and obviously that's not going to be profitable because you can't sell your Crebensis normally, and everyone can breed them. So yeah, I mean, it's I don't agree with it anymore. I've definitely said it in the past, like before doing this for a business. And yeah, can I raise first week angel ram fries feeding on Infusoria and microworm only? I mean, without BBS. Yeah, you definitely can. So ram fry are so small. It'd probably work better with the rams, but rams are so small they can't normally eat baby brine shrimp on the first day. So you have to get them up for 2 or 3 days until they're big enough to eat baby brine shrimp using Infusoria. Now, I definitely recommend not trying to do what you're doing, because baby brine shrimp is just going to be so much more useful and so much easier on you than using microworms and Infusoria, because it's got so much more nutrition in it. And yeah, it'll just make them grow so much quicker and get them onto a really sturdy like size. And yeah, I just think that you could do it probably, but it's just definitely not something I'd recommend. It's baby brine shrimp, super easy once you learn it, and it's going to make a huge difference. It's kind of weird because I've noticed that I'm reading the comments here now, and I was just thinking back to like I don't know, maybe a couple of months ago, and everyone's talking about breeding fish for profit and only breeding fish. And it's a bit weird because I used to answer lots of questions about tank mates and things like that, which I still have like a lot of knowledge on, and I'll probably talk about in the future at some point when I'm not doing as much breeding. But it's just a bit weird to notice that everyone's getting amongst it. And like all of them, like pretty much everything here is about breeding fish. It's kind of weird. I didn't know how many people wanted to actually breed fish. I wonder if I wish I could make a poll. Maybe I can make a poll. That'd be cool. Man, I probably can't actually. I'm too much of a boomer for this. Yeah, I don't think I can. But I was going to say, like, what part of the hobby do people enjoy the most? Like, is it aquascaping? Is it breeding? Is it community tanks? You know what I mean? I feel like breeding is becoming super, super popular, and it's something that I think is unique about this hobby, because you can, think about other animals, right? Even lizards and turtles and stuff like that. They're a bit too big and a bit too much of an effort to breed, but you can breed fish in a glass box, and it's super, like, you can do it in a really small space, and you can get to enjoy, I don't know, that whole aspect of keeping animals in a small box. So maybe that's part of it, but it's one of those weird hobbies where you can actually do that. And I think that it's kind of cool. What do you use to quarantine new fish in Australia? So when it comes to quarantining, I think the first thing, I've talked about it before and I've probably stressed it heaps. Sorry. Just a bit of iced coffee. I've talked about it heaps before. I've kind of like, I only quarantine where necessary. I think the biggest thing to quarantine for is worms. But the best thing, as I think we found out in the COVID, like, I'm not trying to get like political here, and everyone's going to have their own opinions, but isolating, it limits the spread of like your diseases. So having fish in one tank and not spreading that throughout the other tanks. Normally that disease will just end up dying because you can really control it. It's not like humans with COVID. It's quite easy to manage. So the first thing about quarantining is just separation. And then I think treating from there by what you kind of see. The one thing that I always try and treat for is worms. So I'll use levamisole and I'll use praziquantel so that'll nail tapeworms, and that'll also nail what are they called, roundworms or nematodes like camellianus worms. And the second thing I like to use is on top of the praziquantel, because this will also help with the flukes, is I use a PP treatment and I just freaking nail them with PP, and that seems to work really, really well. So I think both of those can seem pretty scary to someone who's new to fish keeping, and I should probably make videos on this in the future to try and make it a little bit less scary, because I was super scared on doing it. And by the way, guys, please don't spam or anything like that, because you'll just get put in timeout. I mean, I don't have a mod on today, but yeah, don't spam. It just ruins it for everyone. But I forgot what I was talking about. I think I should make a lot of videos on those things because, potassium permanganate, that's what PP is. I should talk about that. But it used to seem really, really scary to me. And now that I've done it, it's like definitely not scary at all. But yeah, one sec. I'm trying to do. Wait, how do I do this? Yeah, I think I need to. I don't know. I'm a bit of a boomer. I'm not good at these live streams, and I'm trying to figure it out. But anyways, I'm just going to keep going with the questions. Do you still breed shrimp, especially Caridina shrimp? So actually, I wanted to talk about this a little bit because I don't know. I sort of surprised myself, and I don't want to talk too early because I don't want to jump ahead of the gun. But I just left. So I've got 3 different types of shrimp, right? I've got my actually I have 4 types. I've got yellow cherries, blue dream shrimp, and red cherries. So those are my neocaridinas. And then as my caridinas, I've just got crystal reds. Now, on my neos, I only use bare bottom tanks and tap water. And then on my caridinas, I was using a shrimp substrate, and that was it. Now, I think I had too soft of water in the caridina tanks. I've been having a lot of success with the other ones. They've just been breeding up a storm. I'll make an update video on that. But my caridinas, I had a few buried females, and then what would happen is the females would just die before they gave birth. And I think that the problem with it was that the water was too soft and they weren't able to shed or anything like that. And I just think it just became a bit difficult for them. So what I've done is I've boosted up the hardness in the water by adding some crushed coral. And I've also turned it onto tap water so that they get that remineralization every time there's a water change in the fish room. So they're getting weekly water changes with that. And I just ignored them for ages. Like I saw them die and I thought that I didn't have any more females in there. And I had a few young ones, and I literally probably didn't look at it for about 2 months. And I just, I was just feeding the tank and wasn't paying attention to it. And I was just thinking about what I would put in there instead of those, because I just kind of wrote off. I was like, I'm having too much success with the neos. I'll just put a different type of neo in there, and it'll be a bit more viable. And I checked this morning, and there's like 4 buried females in there. And ever since I added that crushed coral and did the actual water changes, it seems that they're working a little bit better. So some of those young ones have grown up and they're all buried now. And it's going to be interesting to see. Hopefully they're successful in, surviving, and they can, actually breed, and then we can have heaps of them in the fish room. That'd be pretty cool. But yeah, I was just ignoring them, and that just happened. So it's kind of cool. By the way, hey everyone, who's just joined the chat. I mean, there's just so many people here. Like I can't keep on top of it anymore. It's a little bit crazy. Soft or hard water for breeding cories? Soft water, 100%. You want the water you can get it pretty much as soft as possible. The only thing is when you have soft water with no minerals in it, you risk having pH crashes. Now, I'm not too scared of this, like normally, because when you think about it, it depends on how severe the pH crash is, but most of the time the cories are pretty resilient to things like that. So yeah, it's not too bad, but yeah, definitely soft water. They don't like hard water at all. Brown algae diatoms harmful. How to eradicate nearite snails. Thanks so much, Scott. Here, wait, hold up. Let me have a look. I don't know what you're talking about. Algae. Is this just once? Sorry, everyone. Just deal with me for 1 second. I'm trying to figure out. It's one of those things. If I see it, oh yeah, okay. So we're just talking about surface. Here, wait. I'm going to try and do this cool thing now. See if it works. Wait. Sorry. Thanks to everyone for bearing with me while I try and stop my wait. While I try and do this properly. Here. Keep bearing with me. Keep bearing with me. Share screen. Don't show these tips again. What? Oh, it's going to do this to me. It's trying to ask me to do all these settings and things like that. Here, 1 sec. No, okay, I can't do it. Damn it. Okay, so Scott's just talking about basically just the green algae that grows on the front of your tank. What you want to do is with that, it's super easy. Yeah, nearite snails will probably eat it, but the best thing is probably just like a little bristlenose pleco, or honestly, they're probably going to be the best. A bristlenose pleco is not going to let any of that stuff grow in your tank, so that's what I'd use. You can use the nearite snails. I think I don't think you can actually get nearite snails here in Australia. I think they're forbidden, and but I mean, a lot of things eat those. Just ram's horn snails and things like that also eat it. And yeah, so I also just want to say thanks to Jets, Fish Tanks and More for the donation. I really appreciate that. I must ask you a question. Haha. I keep getting those ones. And then we've got a good question here as well. Sit in the fish room. Yeah, I get told this heaps. A lot of people are like, oh, why don't you stream in the fish room? And the reason is, I don't know if you've heard on here, 1 sec. I'm going to check if I can do this real quick. Well, I probably can't. I'll have to do this later. Anyways, one thing that, like if you've watched any of my YouTube videos, you'd know that in the background, you can just hear the fish room's super loud. And I know that if I went and did a stream in that fish room, it'd just be way too loud and it'd be too sweaty in there. And it just wouldn't be nice. This is just my bedroom, by the way. So I should probably try and make it a little bit nicer to look at and less boring, but doing a stream in the fish room would just be way too loud. How do you deal with discus aggression? So most of the time, the best way to do it is separation. And I've noticed that this happens with a lot of cichlids. What will happen is you'll have, like this happens with rams, this happens with pistogrammas and things like that. Especially like all the cichlids, when they pair up and they breed, and then you do something like take away the eggs, or one of the parents eats the eggs, the other one freaks out and it'll just start attacking and it'll just cause massive chaos in your tank. And the best thing to do is take the chaotic fish out. Now, a lot of people can't do that. Another thing you can do is like separate them, like using some Perspex, and put them to one side of the aquarium and just give them some isolation and a bit of time out. And most of the time, once they've settled down a bit and they've realized that getting angry isn't going to do anything because they're just hitting the Perspex or they're just in another tank, and they settle down, you can reintroduce them and normally they're okay. So that's the best way to deal with that. We got the refocusing happening. Hi, I just joined and I'm trying to breed zebrafish, and they recently spawned and I waited for 4 days to hatch and they didn't. Is it possible the whole batch was unfertilized? That's probably the best bet. Yeah, if they didn't hatch, then that's probably, the only reason why. Like it's probably not going to be a case of having the wrong water because they're only zebra danios. So I think just try again. Make sure you've got males and females, because sometimes you can actually have females maybe that are spawning and there's nothing fertilized in the eggs. So yeah. Hi Nick, what is your number one priority when breeding rams, and how old should they be to be sold? So rams, you don't want to sell them too young because they don't have a lot of color. And I think, look, you want to probably sell them at like 3.5 months, because when they're really big, you'll actually be able to get a little bit more money. Part of the thing with rams is what makes them viable is that the imported ones are crap. Like, they just suck. And they come in with all these different problems. They come in with cauliflower, sunken in bellies and things like that. And if you're trying to compete with that, it's really easy as long as you have something that's clearly better looking. And if you can raise them up to as big as possible and get them nice and massive and looking good, then a lot of people will be more happy. And so, like, I'd say 3.5 months. And then the number one important thing is definitely the first day of them free swimming. Like, that's the do or die moment. And I'm not an expert at this. Back when me and Justin were breeding them, Justin was the manager of that. And now that I'm breeding them, I've got to do that. So I've been trying to come up with ways to better do that. Now, I've only had one batch since then with the new breeders, because I've retired the old ones. And in the first batch, I talked about it in my update video, and it was pretty annoying. But they all got, like, because obviously I was keeping them at the fish room and I wasn't always there, and they constantly need food on that first day. I tried to set up this like infusoria drip system to try and give them fresh water, and it just failed. The drip system clogged up and they went over the back of the overflow, and it's a little bit annoying, but yeah, that's what happened. So the first day is the most important. I've actually got the rams now at home, and I've got 2 infusoria kits, and I've got like 350 rams, I think, or maybe only 250. I don't know. I've got a lot of them downstairs. I've got 2 different batches, and the first batch is going to go free swimming tomorrow. So hopefully tomorrow we have a bit more success. And the reason they're at home is because I can feed them in the morning and I can feed them at night right before I go to bed, and they don't have that huge gap in time where they can't eat. And yeah, that first day is super important. By the way, yeah, just please don't spam, because yeah, I like I said, I'm not going to answer your questions. And one sec. Yeah, I can't answer the questions, and it's just a bit annoying. Will you be selling CPDs after lockdown? Yeah, I definitely will be. But I need to have some up for sale. I've only got a few growing out at the moment. There's a few questions before. I wanted to let you guys know as well. I don't know if you watched that video where I set up the new discus tanks. I've been a bit funny about discus. Like, I enjoy them so much. Like, and I've actually got Lemon and Clementine, my Flora pair. They're actually have got fry attached to them right now, and it looks really, really cool. But part of the problem with Lemon and Clementine is that the fry, when they're first born, they don't start looking good until they're quite old. So now my first batch are like 6 months old. They look really, really good. Like, they're starting to get their color. But the problem is, most of the time you got to sell them at like 3 months old, and they don't have any color, and people don't know what they are. And there's people who are breeding like, blue diamonds and yellow melons, and I don't know what you call them, like yellow diamonds or red melons and things like that. And they look a whole lot better. And the problem is, if I'm going to be breeding discus at the rate I want to, I'll need to be turning them over. And even though Lemon and Clementine are like an expensive strain of discus, the market for them is pretty small. And, the people who just buy discus to look cool in their planted aquarium aren't going to know what they are, especially at that size, or a few people might. But what's going to happen is, if stores buy them or wholesalers buy them, they're actually going to be more annoyed at me, because I'm going to charge them a premium, and they're going to have these dull fish that don't look good yet compared to the yellow the yellow ones and the red ones and the blue ones, and they're not going to sell them. And one sec, just please stop. And they're not going to be able to sell them. So yeah, like, I mean, what I'm saying, and what I'm trying to get to, is I'm just considering, maybe moving on Lemon and Clementine, or keeping only Lemon and Clementine, and maybe getting like a pair of like blue diamonds or something like that, and just producing you know, just like yellow discus or just red discus, just because I can turn them over and they work really, really well. Here we go. One sec. I'm gonna do a little bit of culling in the chat. I'll have to get a mod. I did have a mod at one point, but there we go. Thanks for everyone who doesn't spam and can deal with my boomer streams. But anyways, yeah, so I don't know, maybe I was thinking of transitioning on to just more common styles of discus and just focusing on turnover rather than breeding fish that stores look at. Like I put them on my wholesale list, and they're just not as popular at, like, I don't know, I haven't sold really many discus at all. I haven't sold any. So I don't know. It's a little bit annoying because you raise them up and then no one really knows what they are, and only a few people know what they are. So yeah, I was thinking about doing that, but we'll see. Which is the most important? Having high quality fish, rare and expensive fish, or higher quantities of fish when looking to maximize profit? So that's a really good question. Yeah, I'll try and I think you can do this, can't you? Look at this. So look, the reason fish are normally expensive is because they're hard to breed and you can't get big quantities of them, and there's normally a reason why. And then having quality fish, I think you just need to have that with everything. That's like, that's not even, shouldn't be part of the question. Everything has to be quality. And higher quantities is probably the most important thing. So when it comes to making profit off fish, again, look, I'm not acting like I've bred fish for years and years and years, and this is just my limited knowledge and limited experience on breeding fish for profit. But you want to find species that most of the time, like, all right, breeding guppies and stuff like that, you can make money on it. But the problem is there's just importers who can bring them in, and they're probably like going to be equal quality to you, or yours might be a little bit better, but they're so cheap, they just focus on the turnover of those, and you're not going to really be able to compete. Now, you want fish that you can produce a lot of and that you can always sell and that are very popular and have a decent price, and that will be better quality than other people. So like, for instance, things like angelfish normally are pretty good. They're just not great in my economy because I've got like 25 angelfish breeders around me. I mean, rams are pretty good, but rams are pretty hard to breed most of the time. And a lot of people aren't going to have success with those. And yeah, they're not a great one sometimes, but they can be profitable. And then things like rainbow fish could be really profitable because they're pretty easy to breed. You just need to know how to culture infusoria for them. And what I'm saying is lots of things that you can produce like hundreds of that you can consistently sell. And that's probably the best thing. Will you be selling the baby angelfish on your website when they're big enough? Probably. I've been a little bit conflicted about the website because a lot of people might not know this, and I'm going to take a quick second to talk about this with you guys because everyone here is probably most likely to be customers on my website. And thank you so much if you are a customer. I just honestly thank you so much. But a lot of people don't realize that even though there's, I never expected to have this big of a YouTube channel, and it might seem like it's a huge business, but it's literally just me running everything. Like I run the whole website. I do all the breeding. I do all the stocking for the website. I run everything. I do all the emails and things like that. Here, I should probably get rid of this. Hey, how do you get rid of this? Wait. Oh. And what I was going to say is that, I mean, it's got an, how do I freaking, there we go. And what I was going to say is it's actually become almost a little bit like the website's been very, very good for the business, and a lot of people have enjoyed having the fish and being able to buy my fish. But at the moment, it's just been such a challenge trying to ship out live fish, and not because of dead on arrivals. I hardly have any dead on arrivals anymore. I've been very, very good with that. It's just I hate to complain about it, because like it's not something don't take this as complaining, but I've almost had too many people buy fish, and it can get to Mondays, and Mondays is when I ship out fish, and I can have like 25 orders, and most of the time I'll have to pay a friend to come with and try and help me ship those fish out. But man, it's so stressful, and I lose a day, shipping out orders. And the problem is, on that day, any of the jobs you're meant to do in the fish room get pushed back, and the jobs in the fish room can't wait. You have to stay on top of them. So you lose a day shipping out fish. It can be very, very stressful. And, then you have to keep updated with stock. You have to reply to customers, which I don't mind doing at all. And yeah, it's just been a little bit of a challenge. And I'm thinking either making a minimum order quantity. So like you have to spend a certain amount on the website to be able to place an order so that there's less customers on it. And the orders are more worthwhile doing, because like if I'm shipping out like a $20 better, it might seem like a lot, but it's just an extra thing I have to do and an extra label for, less money. And it's just not viable when I'm by myself. And yeah, everyone's saying it sounds like you need an employee, and, I definitely do need employees, but because I'm in a garage, I probably legally can't even have an employee. And if someone was to slip over besides myself and sue me or something like that, I wouldn't have a lot to defend myself. So I can't probably get any insurance or anything like that. It's just having an employee is not going to be viable until the next fish room. So yeah, I don't know. If you guys are wondering like why there's, sometimes things out of stock on the website and things like that, it's just because I'm trying to focus on the fish. So for me, my priorities in this business and my, in keeping fish simple, the first thing's always the fish. So if I have to choose between shipping out orders or like keeping the fish alive, it's always going to be keeping the fish alive and making sure I'm on top of that, because that's what causes me the most anxiety about everything. And then the second thing is the YouTube channel. And then the third thing is obviously the website. So I think as I get bigger, and hopefully once I move into a bigger warehouse and I can actually have an employee, that's when I'll probably focus on trying to do the online store a little bit better. But for the moment, I'm probably going to cull back on doing any plants, and I'm probably only just going to do fish that I have. And I'm just going to set up like a minimum order quantity. So if you guys were wondering for the reasons why I'm doing that, that's why. And don't be surprised by it. Don't be upset by it, because I mean, you can have your own opinion about it and whatnot. But yeah, I think it's just probably going to be the best thing for me at the moment. It'll just make it a little bit easier to manage. And yeah, I mean, even having this COVID, I was meant to ship out orders on Monday, and those orders now have to be shipped out on the next Monday, because if I get COVID from like the post office or something like that, or, something happens like that and I get COVID, I actually won't be able to leave home, and my fish room's not at home. So we'd have a bit of a problem for 2 weeks. So I really can't risk getting COVID. And yeah, so I know next Monday is going to be extremely difficult. If everyone can just be patient and, bear with the fact that it's just me running this, then I'd really, really appreciate that. And everyone's been super supportive. I'm not saying anyone hasn't. It's just, I think a lot of people don't understand the situation, and this has happened so quick for me, and I don't, I haven't been able to keep up to it. I didn't ever set up the fish room thinking that I'd be doing online orders, and that's why it's been a little bit of a challenge. So yeah. If I were to buy your blue black rams, how would you make dark nights? So just breed them and you'll get some dark nights. That's actually the best way to do it. And what dark nights are, they're just part of like a whole different type. Like they're part of like a whole different variation of colors that you can get from breeding those fish. So what happens is you'll get blue blacks, you'll get blues, and you'll get dark nights. So just breed them and you'll get some dark nights. If you guys ask a question, please don't repeat the question for like ages to try and get it answered, because most of the time I don't know if you guys know it, but if I'm seeing and you've just spammed it, I'm not going to answer it. Even like if it's a good question, it's just annoying. So yeah. Anyways, it would be better to get a storefront prior to getting your employees. So this is another thing. Yeah, it probably would be, but it's hard because you want to focus on certain things. And if you try and do, a whole bunch of separate things, right, you're not going to be able to do them to your best ability because you're going to be spreading out over like a bunch of different things. And so having a storefront's a whole nother thing. That's going to be, because you have to have a retail area. That's going to boost your costs of having the business. So you're going to have a huge amount of rent. And then, you're going to have employees, and you're actually going to have to set up a shop first and then set up online, which I don't think is the best way to do it. It's probably going to be better to set up the warehouse and then later on doing a shop or something like that if I feel like it. But at the moment, I mean, like, thinking about all these things is so much to think about. I think the best thing for me is getting into a new breeding facility where I can have it a little bit bigger and someone else can come and help me, do it. And then have, a whole segment for shipping out the fish to direct to consumers from where I'm breeding, and maybe bringing in plants and things like that and selling plants and dry goods on the website. And then after that, maybe, see where I'm at from there. But that's probably the next step. Because the other thing too is also owning a store. I'd have to be at the store so often, and I also have to be at the fish room so often to breed. And it's just a little bit annoying. I saw a few good questions up here. Not that I would ever take a blank check. This is a cool question. It's if I was to give you a blank check to go towards your business, how would you use it to improve keeping fish simple? So I wouldn't ever take money. I think that's the best way to do that is to sell stuff and build up your business. You don't want to just be given money and things like that. But at this point in time, it would probably be for, if I can think about it, I mean, honestly, it'd be expansion. And I was thinking through a bunch of things in my head, but it'd honestly be getting a bigger space and setting up a new, bigger area. Now, that's probably the best thing for me to do at this point. That's probably what I'd focus on doing there. But yeah, it'd definitely be expanding. Hey Nick, juggling your studies, breeding, shop, keep, and the infinity of complex details is overwhelming. You are such an incredibly passionate young man. That is what inspires many to join the hobby. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Yeah, actually, I had a question before, and it was how are your studies going? And I've actually decided to stop my studies for now. I was studying property economics, and it just didn't, I was doing it, and ever since this has really grown and started to take off quite a bit. Thank you so much, everyone, by the way, for making that happen. I've just decided that it's probably doesn't really align with what I want to do anymore, and I've just decided to pause it for now and just focus on the fish. And yeah, so I'm not studying anymore. I'm not a dropout yet, but I'm not studying at uni anymore. Thanks so much, Pompeii Ranch, for the sticker. Where would you recommend to sell fish online without a website? Honestly, the best thing to do would probably be just if you don't have, I think the best way to sell fish, if there's no way, because there's not really any place you can sell fish. You can sell them on Gumtree and stuff like that, but that's probably where I'd try and sell them. But apart from that, you can also just set up your own website and then just set up a little Instagram and, share your Instagram around and try and get your name out that way. Talk about fish in forums and things like that, and just, try and get word of mouth information, marketing going around. But probably just Gumtree. That's probably the best place, or Craigslist or something like that. Would you ever do local pickups? Probably not. Probably not for a very long time. The reason for that, I get so many emails asking if, because people are in Brisbane, they don't want to get them shipped if they can locally pick them up. And the problem with local pickups is, first off, I'm not a shop, so I can't have people come and look at my stuff because I'm not a shop. And the other thing too is it relies around other people's time and not my time, and people might not rock up, and I might bag fish and people never come for them and stuff like that. And the other thing too is just for security. I mean, as much as I'd like to trust everyone here, it's not these people here. I just don't want people knowing where I am, and doing local pickups isn't probably a good idea at this point. So maybe in the future, if I had a shop or something like that, I'd 100% do local pickups, but it's just easier to ship. So yeah. If I buy a pair of rams, it's a male and female, and how old? So yeah, they are, and they'll be about 4 months old. And also, it's my favorite merch because I'm getting some for my birthday. So I'm not big on my merch. I like the design. I actually got the designs made, but I've still got to work on that. This is like another thing that just adds to the endless pile of lists. My favorite is definitely the Zebra Pleco, and I haven't even ordered my own copies of this yet. I did it, and then I just, ended up having my focus go somewhere else. So I'm going to be working on that later. I've probably got to get someone else to do it, but yeah, I don't know. I like the Zebra Pleco design. I actually mainly got those designs, and I put them on hats because they look cool, but they're for the members, so you can have like different tiers of membership. So I think it's maybe Axolotl, Corey, P Puffer, and then Zebra Pleco. But yeah. Are you still going to do international shipping? I don't think that I'll probably ever be able to do international shipping. The only way that I think that I'd ever be able to do something like that, well, I could do international shipping with certain things, but definitely not live fish, I don't think. I think it'd be too hard. But I think the only way to do, it's pretty annoying. Only 6% of my audience is in Australia, and that means only 6% of people can actually buy stuff. And it's probably even less than that because I can only take them from metro areas. But the only way to do international shipping would probably be to set up something in the States, and I don't know how you'd even do that. And, do all the project from there. I mean, maybe it'd involve moving to the States, and I don't know whether I'd want to do that, or I can actually do that because I'm a dual citizen. But I think that's the only way I could probably do some kind of like international shipping, and it'd just be within the United States using, United States, but we'll see. That's so far down the track, and I'm not going to be able to do international shipping for a very, very long time. How's the partnership with Justin been going? So me and Justin are not doing a partnership anymore. Justin, he's at uni and I'm not at uni anymore, and Justin's focusing on his studies, and me and Justin both now have our own brood stock. So that's kind of where the project went. And now we've both got our own brood stock, and we're both doing our own things now, and the project's mostly over. So, I mean, Justin and I worked really, really well together. We did, I bought some black rams. I actually bought some blue blacks, and I knew that if we bred them, we could get some really good, strains out of them to breed in the future. And when me and Justin first met, I was actually buying rams off Justin to sell on the website. And yeah, when we first met, I was in this really busy stage of setting up the fish room where I wasn't fully set up, and I actually had the rams spawning, and I didn't know when I was going to be able to get more. And like I was saying before, the most important part of the rams is that first week. And Justin was breeding the blue rams, and I said, hey, do you want to just breed the black rams? Well, I'll breed them, and then you can hatch the eggs, and you can get them to baby brine shrimp, and then you can bring them back to the fish room. We can grow them up. So we did that, and we did that for a few batches, and then we retired the brood stock, and we grew them all up, and we split up all the fish, and now we've both got our own brood stock, and it benefited both of us because now we've both got brood stock. And I mean, I don't like, yeah, I think that it was pretty cool, and we got to do that together. But yeah, now Justin's doing his own thing. He's doing uni and stuff like that, and yeah. Here we go. I'm trying to, a lot of questions that are people are just asking questions like, can you do international shipping? And what are like the rules? And I have no clue on stuff like that. You'll have to find that out yourself. The key to local pickups is having a dingy place on a questionable side of town with an extreme lifestyle, so you can scare away the crazies naturally. Yeah. If I ever sell fish and I don't like, for instance, if I want to move on my Cory colonies, I've been selling them and meeting people in car parks and things like that. It sucks. I hate doing it, but yeah, that's just how it is. Sadly, you got to protect yourself. What's your favorite fish of all time? Zebra plecos, 100%. They have to be my favorite. So cool. Do you think you can keep a blue ram in a 40-liter tank? Definitely can. To sell in the United States, you would have to ship to a fish broker. They would then be held there to give them time to recover, then be shipped to the customer. Yeah, so you could do something like that. But then, see, I don't know. You're leaving it up to someone else to manage a whole entire. Like, if I went to the States, I can guarantee you, I wouldn't be complaining about having 25 orders. It'd be like 125 orders. Like, the United States is such a big market, and I know that there's so many people here that would buy my fish, and I'm so thankful that everyone trusts me so much. But to have someone else in charge of that, and not be there to regulate it and make sure that it's all going on okay, it it would be like a nightmare. Like, imagine if someone did a bad job or something like that, and you're over in Australia and you never knew. Like, all you knew was what you heard through the phone. Like, it would just be, not good. Hey, bud, I think you forgot to swipe the chocolate milk off your lip. Yeah, I know. I've been getting so much people commenting on it. In the last video, you talked about getting scammed on the zebra plecos. Are you comfortable elaborating? If not, no worries, I understand. Yeah, 100% I'm comfortable elaborating. Like I said, the only reason I didn't talk about that was because at the time that person was still scamming people. And I think a lot of the people who were getting scammed, because it was easy to find everyone because it's such a small community, because everyone was getting scammed at the same time. It was like in the same 2 weeks. A lot of those people didn't want other people talking about it and things like that. That we didn't want people getting the idea that like that's a possibility that you can scam people with fish. I didn't think that in such a small niched thing that people would be scamming, but that's why I haven't talked about it. Not because I haven't wanted to, but yeah. So I'm happy to talk about it. I mean, I don't know what there is to talk about, and yeah, like if there's any questions you guys have, like as to the story about it or anything like that, I'm not afraid to talk about it. Just as long as no one here goes and tries to do the same thing. Because I mean, like, it's pretty bad if you're in an industry where people are doing this, and this is an industry where most people trust each other, and a lot of people, nothing like that I don't think had really happened before. And yeah, it's just really disappointing to know that there's snakes out there that do this kind of stuff in our things. So I'm sure I'm not the first person this has ever happened to, 100%. But I mean, yeah, I just don't want people going out and doing the same thing. Where do you get most of your fish before you became your own stocker, if that's a word? If you don't want to respond, it's fine. I got scammed as well from Brian Shrimp. That's really disappointing. Yeah, I mean, make sure if you're going to buy fish online, you buy them somewhere with pay protection. So like, if you say, I can't scam you guys, because what will happen is if you guys buy from my website and then you get a charge back because I scammed you or something like that, the money's just going to come out of my account and the scam didn't work. So buy from people that are like, you can get chargebacks on. The other thing is, like, if you're going to buy brine shrimp, just buy them on eBay, because by law, they have all these buyer protection laws and things like that. Or buy them in person, and don't buy them from dodgy people. Like, if it looks dodgy online, don't go. Just like, if you're going to go buy a big rare fish and it just looks super sketchy and they ask you to meet somewhere sketchy, like, just don't do it. It's so silly. Just be careful. I'm really disappointed that, you have to think about things like this, but it's part of it. And yeah. So where do you find your breeding stock? So look, it depends for everything. I try and find them from other breeders normally, but if you can't, the best way to get good breeding stock is to buy the species, breed them yourself, and then use that as your breed stock. That's going to be really, really sturdy and healthy fish, the fish that you breed. So that's probably the best way to do it. um, trying to find some good questions. So, what do you think of live red cherry shrimp being sold on Amazon? I'm not too sure what I think. As long as they get there okay, I don't mind. Can you share your water change routine? So my water changes are all automatic except for my discus tanks. So discus get a water change every day in the morning. And then the other ones, my big 4-foot grow out tanks get a water change, I'd say every second day. And then the other ones, the breeding tanks get a water change probably every 5 to 7 days. And yeah. Do you have any experience breeding pea puffers? No, I don't. And that's probably one of the next things I want to try and breed. They're super rare here in Australia, and I know overseas and things like that, that they're super common and they're only a couple of bucks, but here you can't import them. So that means there's a bit of a monopoly on them, and people sell them for, I think this, people sell them for like 180 bucks here or 250. So they're a little bit expensive, but I would love to try and breed them. Does anyone know if blue rams eat cherry shrimp? They definitely do, 100%. Have you ever considered coming to Aquashella shows just to hang around other YouTubers and hobbyists? That would give you an awesome advice to help with your expansion. I mean, yeah, I definitely would. I think it's just obviously I can't go overseas at the moment. I can't like barely even leave my city. Yeah, one sec. I think. Oh, damn. Sorry about that. I've got a little fun fact about me is I've got a little brother with autism, so he's just got an intellectual disability, and sometimes he can hear my voice upstairs, and he actually can't speak, but he just came up then, and I had to direct him away and tell him that I'm doing a YouTube thing. So yeah, sorry about that. That's probably a bit random. What was I talking about before? I don't even remember. Oh yeah, going over. So yeah, I can't do it at the moment. I mean, I'd love to go to those things, and like I said, I don't ever, I don't know, I don't think of myself as anything special. So I think it'd be a bit weird. Like, I mean, there's been a few times where I've been at like, I've never been met out in public or something like that, but I've been at like a fish store and something like that, and someone notices me, and it's always a bit weird because I don't know, it's just weird because they know you, but you don't know them, and you're like, oh hi, and I don't know. I think it'd be a bit weird, but I definitely would go if I could go. But yeah, I was scammed for the zebra pleco as well. Yeah, it's so annoying. Like, and I think the guy didn't even get that bad of a punishment, but he ended up getting caught because there's a whole like ring of people. Is he back? We'll see. I might have to go in a second anyways, but yeah, what was I going to say? Yeah, it was just so disappointing. It was like a whole ring of people. So I think it was people doing, they were doing rare exotic birds, they were doing puppies and things like that. It was just a whole bunch of people doing it, and then they were just sending the money out of the country after they got it. And yeah, it was just so disappointing. But anyways, do you have plans to expand soon? Well, I guess soon. Obviously, it just comes down to, it just literally comes just down to money. I can expand when it makes sense to do it, and part of expanding is how you actually expand, and I don't know how I want to, like whether I want to go to like an actual warehouse or if I want to move into my own house and do it from there or something like that. So I'm not too sure how I'll do it. But I mean, hopefully in a year's time, I'm working on the next fish room. That'd be pretty cool. But I don't want to get too ahead of myself. I want to just enjoy where I'm at now and make videos and just work on YouTube and making cool content in the fish room I'm at. And, you know, that's probably my main priority is, you know, breeding the fish first off. But making good YouTube videos and making videos that I want to make. And if I start building the new fish room, it's going to be hard to make those videos because I'll be so occupied building. So I just want to enjoy where I'm at the moment and make some cool videos. Glad you love him and take care of him. Wish you could invite him and introduce him, but there's too many haters out there. Maybe I will in a future live stream. I mean, I don't think that he'll get any hate. There's no reason to, and I don't know why you'd make fun of someone with an intellectual disability. Like, I mean, people like that, first off, like, you're not going to, I just think it's so low to make fun of someone who can't help something that they are. So I think that's just a bit ridiculous. And if you're going to do that, I think that you're pretty bad. But maybe in a future video, I just think Dan's not, his name's Dan. He's not going to say anything, and he's not going to talk about fish. But yeah, were you able to get your money back? I was able to since the transaction was in pending. No, I never did get the money back. It was a little bit annoying. What? Why are Amano shrimp so hard to buy in Australia? I have no clue, actually. I've never really looked into Amano shrimp, so yeah. Does your brother like fish? I don't really think so. He's never been like interested in it, so he likes the dogs, but he doesn't like the fish too much, I don't think. I remember when I had all the tanks, he was never really interested in it. I've actually got a funny story, and I don't want this story to get me in trouble because maybe I'm just going to tell the story, but I don't want it to come across the wrong way because it was super funny when it happened, and we didn't let this happen. And yeah, I don't have a problem telling it, but basically when I was really young, maybe I was like 9 and he might've been 6 or something. So this is my little brother, Dan. He got up really early one morning, and I was at that point, I had little, like brine shrimp. So like baby brine shrimp, they used to call them sea monkeys, and that's how they market them. And they'd put them in little, like you get like a little kingdom, like a plastic kingdom, and you could grow your sea monkeys in there, and it looked really, really cool. And I was culturing these little sea monkeys for so long, and I had them really big, actually. I had them like 2 centimeters, maybe. Like they were quite big at that point. And I remember I came up and we woke up one morning and I was so devastated because Dan had woken up before everyone else and he'd helped himself and he drank all of the sea monkeys. And it's not that bad. Like he yeah, he drank them and I was crying because the sea monkeys were dead, but it was just salt water and brine shrimp. I'm sure it was pretty good for him, actually, but that was pretty disappointing. And don't think that we let Dan do that. Like he got up and did it himself, and yeah, it was pretty funny. But yeah, that's what it's like having a little brother with autism sometimes. So yeah, I don't think that's happened to many people's sea monkeys. Normally it'd be something like the cat knocked it over, but I have to protect a lot of the stuff I have, like like chocolates and stuff like that. I've gotten broken into for my chocolates, and yeah, it's just pretty funny. But yeah, I might wrap this up in a second. My brother licked a spoon of the BBS, lol, yuck. But yeah, I might wrap this up in a second because I'm going to go to the fish room, and my voice is starting to hurt. I haven't done this for a very long time, so yeah. But if there's any other quick questions that anyone wants to ask, ask away. Here in my local fish store, Amano shrimp are called North Queensland algae shrimp. Yeah, they're called like bamboo shrimp. No, I don't remember. Something like that. Rifle shrimp. Not too sure. Okay, everyone wants me to make a Infusoria video, so I'll do that soon. Least favorite fish. I don't know. Can't really think of any, but yeah. I know that's like a cheap answer. There's nothing that I really hate. I'm not a big fan of big fish. I like the little ones, but yeah. And I might just answer this last question. Oh, wait, this one's not a question, but I love every fish you have bred. My favorites are the black rams and the betters. No one does it better than you. Thank you for bringing such good quality. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. I don't know if I'm the best breeder out there, but I do try my hardest. And yeah. After the female bristlenose lays eggs and the male is in there fanning them, is it normal for him to allow her back into the cave? Yes, that's very normal. That's him being a good dad. Thanks for all your advice. Keep up your good work and have a great day. Stay safe from Victoria. Thank you so much. Yeah, all right. Well, I might head off, guys. Thank you so much. I can't believe how many people joined the chat. Like, it's just absolutely amazing. Thank you everyone who joined. And yeah, it's really weird seeing everyone here. Like, I didn't realize that this many people would come on. So thank you everyone. I'll try and do another one of these in, I don't know, whenever I get around to it, hopefully soon. And also, sorry everyone if I didn't answer your questions. There was just so many today. I couldn't believe it. So yeah. All right. Well, thank you everyone. And I'll see you guys in the next live stream or next video. And yeah.